Hello, I'm Nicole Crawford from the USF Memory Disorders Clinic, and you are watching Tampa Bay Community Network.
Hi, I'm Bill Hodges, and this is Spotlight on Government. And today we're talking about a quasi-government organization, USF. And we also are talking about memory. So you're going to want to pay particular attention to this program, especially as you're growing a little bit older, because memory, to all of us, gets a little scary. My guest today is Nicole Crawford.
Hi.
Nicole is a clinical coordinator, social worker, USF Memory Disorder Clinic, Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Neurosciences. And boy, is that a word. Wow. That's a title. Do you have to go through life carrying that title?
For now, yes.
Tell us a little bit about what you represent. At USF, you are part of that big organization, but I know you specialize down into things of memory disorders.
That's correct. Under the umbrella of USF Health, we are the USF Memory Disorders Clinic, which is housed in the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Neurosciences. We're a state-funded program from the Department of Elder Affairs, and they support what we do. We're one of the 15 state-funded memory disorder clinics. We have a geriatric psychiatrist, a pharmacist is part of our team, myself the social worker. We have an ARMP that we work with, and neuropsychologists that are all part of our team to do evaluations for any kind of memory disorder.
If I felt that I had a memory disorder, and by the way, no comments from out there, yes, occasionally I do, what would I do about it? Or what are, I guess more likely, what are the real signs of a serious problem versus just simple aging?
Normal aging, we all forget things. Where did I place my keys? Where did I put my glasses? What's that person's name? Signs of memory problems include being unable to focus and follow through on things, such as where did I put my keys and how do I drive the car? Or things such as how do I continue to make this recipe that I've made for all my life and I can't remember the steps to do that. So memory problems that are significant, that affect your everyday life and function, are the things we evaluate and need to know about when people come in our door.
John Casimiro, who is our genius with putting these productions on, he's always in the control room pushing buttons and making things happen. But John said something, and you touched on it. A memory is just, well, okay, where did I leave my keys?
Right.
The problem begins with, what is this key good for?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's where people have begun to notice there's something not quite right. This is not everyday things. I'm sure there are a lot of adults that have had memory problems or that have forgotten things. I forget things. But the general everyday things that we continue to know how to do, when we can't do those things anymore, we can't make our way to the grocery store without getting lost, or we can't manage taking our medicines on our own. That's when there's a problem and it should be checked out.
You know, I really don't know whether I can take my medicines on my own. My wife puts them all out for me. Phyllis is really good about it.
So you have a lot of good help.
So maybe I ought to just let her, no, forget that, Phyllis. Don't do that. And that is a problem, especially I would think with people who are married and they're growing older and they lose a spouse.
Yes.
Who has been doing things for them.
And that's when a lot of friends, families, children, siblings start to notice there's something wrong here, because oftentimes when you have someone living with you, they're able to help you compensate. And so those are the people that we see come in later on that don't necessarily have a lighter diagnosis. It's more severe because they've been able to compensate with somebody else in the picture. Until that person left the picture, now there's something wrong with my mom, my dad, my sister.
I think it scares most of us really, really bad, this memory thing. Alzheimer's it's like a lightning bolt at you. It blinds you.
Yes.
Because you think to yourself, gee, I know this friend or I know that friend, and they've slowly drifted away from us. We can't find them. They don't know what's going on. And that's got to be really difficult, both for the person to accept that it's happening to, and for the people around them to try to get them to do something?
Absolutely. I deal with it every day. So facing my own mortality makes me wonder, is this going to happen to me? Most people don't want to know. However, knowing helps you plan for your future and helps the people around you to help you live the best quality of life possible for the remainder of your life. We don't want to be in crisis mode where all of a sudden we get a diagnosis and we have to figure out what to do and where to go, and there's no power of attorney, there's no advance directives. The family's in arms about what decisions to make, so it has to be some kind of planning. No, we don't want to know that we're going to die, but eventually we all will. It's about how we live the rest of our life, how much quality of life we have.
What do we do to start with? I don't have a problem with that with any of the people I know right now. Okay. Although there are a few that I'm beginning to wonder if they're having a problem. But if somebody's a loved one and someone starts recognizing, or even that person recognizes that they have something, or they think they have something, or even fear they might, what do they do?
First step would be to go to your primary care doctor, okay, and talk to your doctor about what's going on. Because it could be depression, it could be stress, it could be anxiety. But if it's bothering you enough for you to think about it on a regular basis, speak to someone about it. And there are tests that can be done, a screening can be done, and that's just the first phase of getting to find out if there's anything else going on. An MRI by a neurologist to check out your brain, blood work to see if there's any physical ailments going on. There are a number of steps that can be taken to find out, is there something more serious and do you need further evaluation?
And is it really memory?
Right, and is it really your memory?
Are there other things, as you point out, stress, physical ailments, things going on in your life that might be causing the problem, and it could be temporary, right?
Exactly, exactly. Even having a low B12 level might be something that affects your memory. So you want to make sure you're taking care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, in every which way. And then if there's something else wrong, have a further evaluation done.
Okay, the first step then would be to go see your doctor.
Yes.
And if you aren't that person, maybe you can encourage them to go in and maybe even sit in with them. In fact, Phyllis and I have gotten the habit when we have doctor's appointments, both of us go.
And we prefer for someone else to come with because they see things that we don't. There are things that the person who's having the memory problems might not remember or might not pay attention to. So we would need them to bring someone along to your doctor's appointments to give the input. It's not to say that you don't know what you're doing, but it's to give a second opinion to the doctor so they have a more full picture.
I've even gotten to the point now when I go to the doctor that I write everything I want to talk to him down.
That's so smart.
I mean, you at this point in your life probably haven't had the occasion very often to go and see a doctor, but doctors are busy.
Yes.
They breeze in, they say, how are you doing? And they're on the way out, and you say, well, wait a minute, I really wanted to talk to you about this. Oh, make another appointment. But if you at least get it on the schedule, you've got something important.
Absolutely, and you are your own best advocate, so being able to tell the doctor what it is that's going on and making sure you command your doctor's time. That's what you're there for. They're a part of your healthcare team.
Okay, your doctor says, all right, there's something going on here. We'll do our blood tests, we'll do the MRIs, we'll do whatever's necessary to rule out some kind of physical ailment.
Right.
Then what's the next step?
So if your primary care doctor sends you for blood work and they say, well, your levels are fine, go to a neurologist to get checked out or go to a psychiatrist to get checked out to see whether it's something mental health or to see whether it's something for your brain. With all of those components in place, and that's what we do at the Memory Disorder Clinic.
Is this where you would start stepping in?
This is where we would start stepping in.
Can the local doctor, your primary care, can he refer you to your group?
Absolutely. A doctor can refer or you can self-refer. You don't need a referral to come to the Memory Disorders Clinic. Okay. You can create your own appointment, come right in, and the steps for the evaluation would be you see myself, the social worker, and the pharmacist. We look over your medications. We talk about your health history, your life history.
Medication, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think some of these things are important, especially. Medications can cause this kind of a problem.
Yes.
Just by themselves. And somebody, I just had, in fact, all my medications reviewed by an outside source
And that's a
to
great
make sure
thing to
that
do.
there were no combined things or things causing problems back and forth. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think it's something that really look at medications and be sure if you've got 4 or 5 doctors, all of them giving you medications, that they all know for sure what you're getting, right?
Yes, always have a list of your medications in your wallet. If something ever happens to you and one doctor doesn't know what the other doctor is giving you, that can cause trouble. So one should always have a list of medications in their wallet to be able to say, this is what I'm taking, this is what I cannot take, or this is what I have taken.
You make some really good point. Another equally strong point is what can I not take?
Exactly.
Because there's certain things we're allergic to or that just have not worked for us, and we don't want to do that.
Right. And so with that medication list, you keep that with you. You take that to all of your doctor's appointments. You update it as often as you need to. When we are in an evaluation, our pharmacist, Dr. Moore, she goes over those medications to see if there's anything that might be causing some fogginess of mind or some cognitive problems. Then the geriatric psychiatrist steps in and he meets with the person, does an evaluation on his own. If there's further testing needed, such as an MRI or a more advanced brain scan, such as a PET scan, he will refer for that. If there's any additional blood work that needs to be done, he will refer for that as well. And once we put all the pieces together, what's going on in your life, what's going on in your blood, what's going on in your brain, what's going on with your medications, we put all of those pieces together and have you come back and tell you what we think it is and what your plan should be for your future. Work with your primary care, come back to see us in a year, or work with your primary care, come back to see us in 6 months. If anything drastic changes, let us know so that way we can follow up with you to make sure that you're doing okay or if we need to do something different.
Now, are there a series of tests that are primarily given, or is it individual to the person? Written tests or?
The usual suspects are an MRI, a neuropsychological evaluation, which helps to tease out which areas of the brain might be having the function.
Okay.
Is it visual memory? Is it auditory memory? Is it your executive function? How well are you processing information or recalling it?
Wow.
And with that neuropsychological test and the MRI, those are the usual suspects, as well as blood work. But we can usually get that from a primary care doctor if it's already been done. And if the MRI's already been done, we get that as well, and we use that. So we don't have to redo tests and make people spend more money. We're not trying to do that.
Now, do you prefer they go to you mentioned the primary care physician first. So do you prefer as a group that they do take that step?
I don't know that it's so much as a preference as making sure you have consistent care. If you have a primary care doctor, we want them to be on board and know that that's your first line of defense always. If something goes wrong, you want to refer back to them at every step that you possibly can.
I think a lot of people are a little scary to sit down with a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
I know I am. I don't know what he's going to say. Well, maybe I do know what he's going to say, and that scares me. But I think that this kind of thing can be really bothersome to a lot of people. And I think there's a matter of control, too.
Absolutely.
I've been in control of my life now for 75 years. And I'm not sure that I want to give control to somebody else.
Well, we don't want to take control. We want to actually empower you to be able to make decisions for your quality of life for the remainder of your life, however long that might be. It could be 30 years, it could be 10 years. But we want to give you as much information so you can make informed decisions and not just sit back and wait for the hammer to fall. We want you to be able to make as informed a decision as possible for yourself and for your family. And that helps to alleviate some stress sometimes. It helps to alleviate financial burdens that might come up as a result of a crisis.
Once I have a doctor say that I have some form of dementia.
Right.
And let's talk about that. Alzheimer's, dementia, forgetfulness. What are these catch-all terms for a very similar thing, or are there separate terms for different kinds of things?
Dementia is a catch-all term.
Okay.
Under the umbrella of dementia are the different types of dementia, such as Alzheimer's dementia. frontotemporal dementia, Lewy body dementia, and those all are differentiated by...
What is Lewy body dementia?
Lewy body dementia is a different type of dementia. It has different symptoms.
I think of boxers.
So that's pugilistic dementia. So there's several types of dementia. It just depends on the disease process that's happening. Alzheimer's is the most common type that you hear about, which has caused, shows shrinking of the brain. But there are different types. You could have what's called a pseudo-dementia, which looks like dementia, but it's not necessarily dementia. It could be related to depression or medications. So dementia is the catch-all term. There's also the term mild cognitive impairment, which is what happens when you're having some signs of memory loss, but you're not in a category that fits dementia. And some people with mild cognitive impairment may not get to dementia. They may remain the same for an extended period of time. There's also vascular dementia. So there's different types of dementia, which is why you want to get an evaluation because
they may not all be permanent.
Right. And treatments might not exactly be the same.
So I'm assuming that vascular dementia is the narrowing of the vascular arteries.
Strokes, anything to do with
like
your cardiovascular system, yes.
Which may not be permanent. Could be. But not necessarily so.
Correct.
So one of the more important things I'm taking away from what you're telling me, Nicole, is that what we need to do is quickly find out what it is.
Yes. Yes. You need to find out what it is, because if you just say dementia, well, there aren't very many medications on the market for memory problems. There are over-the-counter things that people take that aren't necessarily FDA approved or approved through clinical trials. And there are plenty of clinical trials going on trying to find the right kinds of medications for these diseases, but that's in the future. But for now, in order to help you know which way to go, what can I take, what can't I take, what do I need to do, how do I need to plan, the best thing is to get a diagnosis.
Not everybody has unlimited funds.
Right.
And I assume there is some fees associated with what you're doing. Maybe it's a bad assumption, but most medical care requires something.
You're correct.
How does someone coming to you pay for what they have other than in cash?
Most insurances are accepted.
Okay.
When a person...
Medicare?
Medicare, for sure. When you make an appointment, the financial specialists run your insurance to find out whether or not they will pay for it. So before you even walk in the door, you will know if you have a copay or not. So that way you're not caught off guard with any type of medical expense. We don't want that to be the case with anybody trying to get their care, especially when it comes to something so sensitive. And I want to back up a second. I said something about you're getting a diagnosis. There's no clear-cut way to get a diagnosis of Alzheimer's except through autopsy. However, there are clinical diagnoses.
Well, that'd be kind of late.
Yeah. So then there are the clinical diagnoses, and we have guidelines to run through for each one to try to figure out, okay, is this Alzheimer's, is this frontotemporal dementia, is this Lewy body, is this vascular dementia?
And a lot of these things are curable.
I can't say yes to that.
All right.
Because Alzheimer's disease is not...
But if it's stress-related, if it's blood work-related, these kinds of things, these are things that the condition can change, that you can take a pill for, different kind of blood work and different kind of pills. These things are curable. Well, I guess what I'm aiming at is so many people that I talk to are so afraid of Alzheimer's. They don't want to know.
Right.
And they're afraid to go in and find out what it is. And the quality of their life could be so much better if they went in and challenged it right off rather than waiting.
Absolutely. Waiting only prolongs sometimes the inevitable, or it gives you more anxiety and stress. If it's stress-related, there are things that you can do to cope with that. You can go to therapy.
And your psychologist would help them with those coping things.
Yes. Our psychiatrist would refer you to either go to therapy or to see myself for family therapy to see how the whole entire family can do something about it, or to even go to your primary care doctor and see if there's additional medications you need to take for your blood pressure. So if it's something related to your blood pressure, or if it's something related to stress, there are things you can do about that. And some of the things that we want you to be able to do before you even come into our office is exercise. Make sure you get exercise. And that's just not just physical, but that's mental exercise as well.
Like working the crossword puzzle.
Working the crossword
Do that
puzzle.
every day.
Doing memory games, something simple like that. Laughter is one of the greatest things you can do. Making sure you stay light, making sure you laugh, making sure you socialize.
Building those endorphins.
Yes, building those endorphins, making sure you stay connected. Isolating yourself is not going to help, especially if you have depression or memory problems. So.
One of my mentors was a man named Dr. Norman Cousins, who you may or may not have ever heard of, but he was the initial person to do the endorphin studies. And great guy, super guy. But he believed, in fact, he wrote a book, Laughing Your Way to Health. And he believed very strongly that many of our ailments could be cured simply by laughter. So I like that point.
Without laughter, what do we have? Laughter helps to lighten the mood. You know,
Moves all these too.
It moves your muscles, it changes your face. It helps. It really does help. We try to keep you as light as possible. It's a serious situation, but you have life left. So everybody needs to laugh. I'm a huge proponent of laughing.
So if I have a spouse, which I don't, she's got a much better memory than I do, but if I had one who I was worried about this with, then really I ought to try and get them to playing games and maybe going out and doing physical exercise at the fitness center or whatever.
Yes. Even doing some exercises in the house. When you're sitting on the couch, lift a couple of jars of spaghetti above your head. Do some leg raises. Keep your body moving.
My wife would say dust, but...
Well, you know, you can do that too. That's physical activity. Whatever works in your home, whatever works for you at your ability level, but don't sit still. Don't stay in the same place you've always been if you've always been there. Change things up. Read things different from what you normally read. If you read about science, read about fantasy. Do something nonfiction versus fiction. Do something to light up those other areas of your brain.
Get the mind working.
Get your mind working.
This has been fascinating. Now, we've covered a lot of things, but I want to be sure we cover everything that you would like to cover.
Okay.
Are there some things that we haven't covered yet that you really like to get in before we finish? We've got about 4 or 5 minutes.
Make sure you eat a healthy, balanced diet. You know,
that's not easy.
It's not easy, but it's easier than not. You can go buy some bananas for 49 cents a pound at the farmer's market, or cheaper. You can go buy some apples, share groceries with somebody.
I noticed on your way in, you said that was your lunch. You ate an apple and you look great.
Thank you, I appreciate it. An apple a day keeps the doctor away, they say. So you want to try to exercise, have a balanced life, do things for your brain, and what's good for your heart is good for your brain. That's what Dr. Phil says, one of our geriatric psychiatrists. What's good for your heart is good for your brain. So I just want to make sure people know there's help out there. You don't have to get it through us, but talk to somebody if you think you have a problem, and keep your life as balanced and stress-free as possible. It's not always possible, but do your best.
Well, diet's a very difficult thing, and I assume that diet can have a real impact upon the brain.
Absolutely. Well, if you're not eating well and your cholesterol is high, that can lead to a vascular risk. So there you go.
I didn't realize when you started laying them out that there were so many different kinds of memory affecting problems.
Yes, you'd be surprised. And we just want,
I was.
We just want to make sure that people know that there's care out there. That you can find care. You can talk to somebody at the Alzheimer's Association. You can call your doctor.
That's good. We've not even talked about the various associations that will help. And you had mentioned earlier you had some input into Down syndrome also.
There is ADP. I cannot remember exactly what the acronyms stand for, but for persons with disabilities. There's the Alzheimer's Association. We have patients who come in to see us with Down syndrome, intellectual disabilities. So
we have a friend who right now, their son is sliding into Alzheimer's, who is a Down syndrome person. And it's really so sad because the young man was one of the most loving, wonderful kids that every time he saw you, he'd run up with a big smile and give you a big hug, and he's just completely withdrawn.
Yeah.
You'll
see a lot of that coming down the pike, I believe. Our world is going to change, and we have to make sure we're taking care of ourselves as best as we can, because the world right now has to catch up.
Is that part of the environment?
environment can lead
metals
to it.
or whatever.
Smoking, I don't know what all the environmental factors are, but I know that we need to make sure we take care of ourselves in our world because there are more people that are aging. Every day, everybody ages. So we just want to be sure to take care of ourselves and advocate for the best health we can possibly have.
The fitness center I go out to in Sun City Center where I live, I'm never sure who's sitting next to me on one of the bikes or on one of the machines. And I turned to one guy and I said, "How you doing?" He said, "I'm great." And I said, "How old are you?" We talk age out there. You talk medicines, age, surgeries, whatever. And that's just the age group we're in. And he said, "Oh, I'm 92. I said, "Oh, really?" And you're out there and he's going really strong on the machine, elliptical machine. And I said, "What do you consider your secret to old age and not passing away early?" He said, "Keep moving."
Yes.
Keep moving. He said, "Death came to get me at home twice last year and I wasn't there."
There you go. That's great. Stay active. Stay as active as you possibly can. We live in Florida. We have the great outdoors. So,
Oh, don't we?
So let's just use that.
How long has this organization been in effect over there? Is this relatively new that you work with, or has it been going for some time?
I'm new. I've been there 2 years, but the Memory Disorder Clinic was one of the first ones started, I believe, around 1985, 85 or 86. So we've been there for quite some time.
And the people, now you said you have a psychologist.
We
How
have.
large is the staff?
We have myself,
Roughly.
5 or 6. But we have other departments within psychiatry. So there's a neuropsychology team, which has 3
okay.
doctors. We have the geriatric psychiatrist. I'm the clinic social worker and coordinator. So there's myself. Dr. Moore is a pharmacist. She's faculty at USF as well. So we have a team
Do
of
they
people
use
that
the
we
medical school? Do they bring people
We have
over?
residents. We have residents that we use, and we have geriatric fellows as well. So we try to take advantage. I have MSW interns from USF. So we try to teach and help others to learn what's going on and what we need to do for our future.
I go to the VA,
Okay.
and I'm just delighted with the VA. By the way, it takes a bad hit. Don't believe all this crap you're reading about the VA. But one of the things I like about the VA is many times we have medical students
Yes.
who will sit in with the doctor or work with the doctor, and you're getting the newest of training.
Right.
Not people who've been trained 50 years ago and haven't gone back to school since or took a few classes.
Exactly.
And I think that's really neat.
It's the best way to do it. We have to be able to use the new and merge it with the old to make sure we're giving the most comprehensive care.
Okay, let me summarize then. Go to the doctor. If you feel you have any kind of a memory problem, go to the doctor. Explain to the doctor what your problems are.
Yes.
Have the doctor do blood tests or whatever he thinks is important to do.
Yes.
Get your reports back. If there has to be MRIs or whatever,
Yes.
get your reports back. Call your people.
Yes.
If there's a diagnosis of some memory disorder, take that all down to your group with your medical records or have them mail it down.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct.
Get it all down there, and then once they get with you, you'll do an overview of everything they've done, and then do whatever you need to carry it further if you deem it's necessary.
Absolutely. You have it all right.
Well, I can't tell you, Nicole, how glad I am you came here today, and I know a lot of people across my audience have had one great fear in their world, and that's been that fear of Alzheimer's. It's scary, without a doubt. And to have people out there fighting the battle with us is even more important. So I want to thank you so much.
Thank you so
for
much.
having been with me on the show.
I appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Bill Hodges, and this has been Spotlight on Government. You're unique, you're special, and you're great. Tell yourself so often because you are, you know. And we'll see you on the next Spotlight on Government. And again, Nicole, thanks for being with us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.